in control of so much territory. Was that a complete surprise to you?
Well, I think our head of the intelligence community, Jim Clapper, has acknowledged that I think they underestimated what had been taking place in Syria.
President Obama appearing on CBS News 60 Minutes Sunday night, putting the blame on James Clapper and the intelligence agencies for underestimating the growth of ISIS in Iraq and Syria. But a whole lot of people in Washington are now firing back, saying the senior intelligence officials did warn President Obama of the threat of ISIS earlier this year. And against that backdrop, we want to welcome in once again Congressman Peter King of New York, who at one point in time served as chairman of the House Committee on Homeland Security and still remains with that committee. I guess we'd say as chairman emeritus. So, Pete, the blame game in Washington, in your mind, was this a failure of intelligence, a military failure, or the failure of our own commander-in-chief to listen?
The failure of the commander-in-chief. It's not even close. Listen, I'm on the Intelligence Committee and the Homeland Security Committee, and we knew over a year ago about ISIS. And whatever we're told, the president is told 5 times more. And you go back even to statements by the press by Jay Carney last November, talking about how dangerous ISIS was. General Flynn, head of the Defense Intelligence Agency. These are all public statements in January of this year. And in February of this year, Fallujah was captured. I mean, Fallujah, when it fell to ISIS, what a wake-up call that should have been. That was one of the bloodiest battles of the war in Iraq. And to have that fall to ISIS in February, and then when July and August comes around, the president acts like he's just heard about ISIS. He should have spent, at the very least, from February to July, lining up a coalition, lining up a strategy, and taking preemptive action against ISIS. And this all goes back to me, there's a main thing here. Apart from the fact that he did not listen to the intelligence he had, then he talks about the failure of the Iraqi army. One of the reasons we did not have more intelligence on the Iraqi army is when we pulled all of our troops out, we lost our contact with the Iraqi army. Also, when we pulled our troops out, we couldn't provide security for our intelligence assets in Iraq, which meant that we were getting less intelligence. But that had nothing to do with ISIS per se. That was on the failure of the Iraqi army, but that's also the president's fault, because by pulling all the military out, we lost our leverage. Whatever leverage we had in Iraq, we lost, including getting intelligence on the status of the Iraqi army. But as far as ISIS, that is 100% the president dropped the ball on that.
And Pete, with your role on the Intelligence Committee, there's been a lot of talk about the failure of our current commander-in-chief to actually get intelligence briefings. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we don't know about that until it gets reported later on. These intelligence people never tell us that the president's not meeting with them. But now you find out he only, attended 42%? I think George Bush attended almost every one of them. And I don't know what he's doing that's more important than that. I mean, just from an interest point of view, I find that the most fascinating part of my job. And I say fascinating in the sense that you see behind the screen, you see what's really happening, and you see what the potential threats are to this country.
Well, and, Pete, as it's long been said, information is power. And when you have that information, you're warned ahead of time and it presumably can take action. And obviously, you see it in your role on the House Select Committee on Intelligence. It remains a mystery as to why the president is reticent to really go through those intelligence briefings. Peter, as you were answering that, we saw a screen capture, Breitbart.com, with a story from CNN on how ISIS continues to advance, preparing to take a key strategic Syrian town near the Turkish border. Pete, it prompts this question. Will airstrikes alone be enough to stop ISIS?
Not at this stage, no. That's why there has to be ground troops of some sort. I think ultimately you're going to have to see American troops on the ground, special forces. We may not have needed them a year ago or 2 years ago, but now the situation is so far advanced that it's airstrikes by themselves. I don't see them being sufficient. I don't know of any military person who says they will be. And again, on this, the president says that the reason he didn't arm the Free Syrian Army 2 years ago, the moderate elements of it, he said that there was no way of knowing who they were, and people just wanted to throw guns for them. Well, people he's talking about, Hillary Clinton, David Petraeus, and Secretary Panetta, And now he's talking about doing the same thing. If we had done it 2 years ago, we would have had a lot more forces to work with. So basically, he's criticizing those who suggested it 2 years ago. He's doing the same thing now, but the environment's a lot worse. So this is a total failure as well after Pearl Harbor to not blame the intelligence. And that was an intelligence failure.
As you point that out, this is important. Pete, not to interrupt,
we're
we're coming up on the break. I'm going to invite you to stay with us again through this break because there are obviously some important topics that bear some more amplification. Congressman Peter King, our guest here on America's Forum, will step aside for a couple of minutes, then return.